Welcome to the Box Score Sports Podcast.
Okay, let's do the Suns. Right, we're going to do the Suns next, and I just figured I'd put all three of these teams together because that's, Durant's rumored to go to the Rockets. And they both had Phoenix picks. That was the main reason. So the Suns, they finished 11th in the West this year. They were the 11th seed. They were 36 and 44, 36 and 46. Let me ask you what their grade was for the season. What's your grade for the Phoenix Suns?
Oh, this has to be an F. Like
Yeah, I
this
have
is
F too. Yeah.
just a terrible year. Like nothing really worked. They had a couple short stretches where you're like, oh well, this maybe was what we envisioned, but between coaching, between players getting along with each other, the front office knowing what the heck's going on, like trading Durant without figuring out that Durant would go there, trying to force Beal by benching him to like waive his no trade clause. I think from owner down, I think it was just an all around terrible season.
Do you have any pros for them? If no, it's fine. I'm just asking. Yeah.
Nothing that was like, oh wow, this is something. I mean,
I
Devin Booker even had a down year.
yeah, I have that as a con. Yeah. I put Bull's always fun. That's what I put down as like I think
Yeah,
one thing you
he
oh,
had that shot where that 10 game stretch and then his 2K 3 point rating went way up.
yeah, right, exactly. I did put down like maybe a pro coming out of this season is there's a clear direction for them that they cannot win with these three guys, and maybe that's the biggest pro coming out of this season is like they know they got to shift their focus away from Durant, might be away from Booker, and the Bradley Beal thing is just a mess. It's a horrible mess that they have to figure out. I'm with you on the cons. The trade drama was a con. Booker, worst, it was one of his worst shooting seasons. They fired their coach, and like even some of their signings that me and you thought would pan out. You were higher on the Suns than me, but I was still like I was still not bad on them. I thought they'd be like a fringe playoff playing team. But like especially like the Morris Jones signings, it really didn't fix their offensive problems. So it just seems their center play was just so it's just like everything about the Suns. It's like you can't really. It was F is the right grade. Unfortunately, sorry Suns fans, but that is the most appropriate grade for this team right now.
I guess the most positive is Booker doesn't want to be traded yet. So at least you have that. He said he still wants to be there. But the rest of it, just nothing went. And my optimism on the Suns wasn't like true contender in the playoffs, was just the Bud system. But apparently, Bradley Beal didn't want to buy in anything. Booker and Durant didn't seem to love the guy, and it fell apart fast.
Yeah, it was rough season for the Suns. Okay, let's talk about their off season. It doesn't look they don't have a first round pick this year. They don't have a first round pick, so it gets worse. Okay, so um they have two tradable first round picks in the future. They still have Bradley Beal's contract. They have to figure out their head coach. KD's on an expiring. They do have a couple tradable contract with Grayson Allen, O'Neal, Martin, Richards, five to 15 million. So that's good. I don't know, man. What do you think they do this offseason? Where do they go?
Well, the obvious one is you got to move KD, but I think as each day passes, and we have the draft next week, so I think we'll have a deadline to maybe spur an action. But part of me starting to think, do they just take KD into the season because the offers aren't what they want? But I don't think they really have leverage in doing that because again, every week of the season that KD is on the Suns and not on your team, um, at his age and all the risks that go with it, is one less week of value or one less month of value that this other team is going to find. So they are in a difficult situation. And there's probably a new coach. Maybe you can get some of the morale back. But I think it obviously starts with KD would like to move on, and ideally you just trade him for the best offer that you can get asset wise. But I don't think we're going to see that, which makes the Suns off season hard to peg because the rest of the world would be like, all right, sell it off. It's time to, and they have an easy path to getting their picks back, which, like a team like the Bucks doesn't have. The Suns have that, but they're not taking it. So it's hard to even have like a reasonable expectation for what this team is going to do.
Yeah, they're in such a bad spot. I just don't know. Like, okay, so the Durant thing, I think you're right. They gotta just move on from him. Um, I think as much as teams like to work with players, I also think teams have to kind of balance that with what's best for the team. So there was this report that he didn't want to go play in Minnesota. I'm sorry, if Minnesota gives you the best offer at this point, you got to go. You're going to Minnesota, dude. I don't know what to tell you. Anthony Edwards, you're going to go play with him, and that's awesome. But you can't, like, we can't play this game because the more teams that Durant eliminates, the less of the bidding is going to happen that will get them the price that they want. So Durant's got to just be a little bit of flexible during this time. You might be right. They might go into the season with him, but I just don't see the positive in that because he's already a little bit ornery. Unless if they get like maybe they're like, what if we just get a coach that you have some say into hiring just to keep you happy for 6 months or 3 months, whatever we have you for. So, yeah, I think retooling around Booker is a great idea, but the thing is they're so handcuffed with the Beal stuff and the Durant stuff. I don't know how you retool around Booker. Whereas maybe it's funny to me, if I were the Suns, I would just blow it up. I know it's easier for me to say, but I'd be like, I love you, Booker. You've done awesome things. You got us to a finals. But we just got to do what's best right now for the franchise and really what's best for you. We're going to put you in a position where you can go win somewhere, but we're going to throw you at the Grizzlies. We're going to throw you at the Rockets. We're going to throw you somewhere else and we're just going to just get all our picks back. Just going to do what we can. But yeah, I just think that's the way I think they should go, but it's just a rough situation for the Suns off season.
I do think it might be more likely that he ends up on Minnesota because I think as time goes on, if these other teams like the Spurs and Rockets, and I don't think Miami has much of anything that Phoenix would want in the situation they are. If those teams, the Spurs and Rockets aren't going to budge for the Suns' way, and the Suns, I think KD, I don't think they, so I'm babbling, but I don't think Minnesota makes a trade unless they get confirmation that KD will sign that 2 year extension.
Right.
Because otherwise it would be. But I think as time goes on, KD will eventually be like, well, there's like 124 million
Yeah.
over 2 years. That money spends in Minneapolis as well. So I think that's kind of like the dark horse in it. Otherwise, it's like, do you want De'Aaron Fox if the Spurs are willing to do that? I mean, I guess that's a Suns type move if you can get Fox and something else back since the Spurs got the number 2 pick. But again, all the Devin Booker ones, the one you came up with is probably the best because they get their picks back. But if you put Devin Booker prior to this in Orlando or you put him in Detroit, you're getting stuff back, but you're not getting your valuable picks back, so you can't really tank. Which is why it's frustrating because the Suns have the ability to move these 2 guys and probably recoup all their picks and more.
Right.
But they're not going to do it, and maybe they'll do it next year. But some of these teams could move on, as we've talked about, as we've seen.
Yeah.
And if you know you got it in hand now, you might want to do it because the Rockets, Memphis has one. They could all move on in 6 months, and you look back and be like, well, we had our shot to get it all back and didn't.
Right. Correct. Okay. So long shot for the Suns.
My long shot would be yours was awesome. That 3-team trade of moving Booker. We've talked about it. You mentioned it. Putting Booker with the Pistons, I think would be awesome next to Cade. It's kind of I don't want to say a perfect fit because maybe you could come up with a one guard that would make it even better. But both guys are similar enough, and Booker can shoot and play off ball and play on ball some. But I just don't think the Pistons would give up. Well, they would give up enough, but the Suns aren't going to take it. So
Yeah, yeah, and just so because it's going to be just a separate video, I'll just mention the three-team trade I mentioned for the Suns is basically, and you can switch out the young players or whatever. I said Clark, Suns would receive Clark, Green, Smith, and Gigi Jackson, and all the picks, whatever it takes. The Grizzlies would get Booker and Whitmore, and then the Rockets would get Durant, KCP, and Conchar. But like Clint said, the most important thing is they'd get both their picks back. And I think that's what would be positive about that trade. You'd get Green, which, maybe a move would be good for him and Smith. That could be good. Or you can switch out like Reed Shepherd, whoever you want. Along with that, I'm just going to throw this other long shot out there. And again, this is probably a 1%, maybe less than 1% chance of happening. Just trading Bradley Beal would be just amazing for them. They would have to attach one of their other future first round picks. I think they got one or two that they could trade, but like, in the way future. So it's like, do you want to lose another pick, but and then Bradley Beal has the no trade. So you got to get him to agree. So you have to attach a pick and then send him somewhere. I was thinking like Beal would be a fine player if he was like 30, 25 million, but 53 and 57 million for the next 2 years. And it's just like, eh. So that's the long shot. You attach a pick, you move Beal to like a team that's desperate to get some sort of like Brooklyn, like some sort of hype around the team or something like that. But I don't even know if Brooklyn wants that kind of hype. So
yeah, and you briefly mentioned it, and it re-popped into my brain. Like with a KD trade, there's a lot of two guards available, shooting guards, but the problem is the Suns already have one of the best ones. So Jalen Green doesn't do anything for you. Anthony Simons, Desmond Bain, like all these teams that have these two guards, they're willing to move because there's a lot of them in the draft, and there's just a lot of people at that position have no appeal to Phoenix because they got one. And it doesn't seem like they want Towns. Like if you're going to ship them to New York, and New York might have been the one team where you could recoup Towns and whatever else, but acquiring a two guard when you have Beal and Booker doesn't do a whole lot.
Right, correct. Yeah, exactly. Okay, we ready to move on to our next team? Okay, let's. Thanks so much for watching this clip of the Box Score Sports Podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter or X. And we'll talk to you guys real soon. See ya.